Feel the boogie, wanna feel the beat, and I know mama told me not to wear it out. So step aside, I wanna knock you out.
All right, welcome everybody into the inaugural edition of Rampage Recap. My name is Xenaero, and I am bringing it to you live from Rampage Studios, along with Nexus, the league commissioner for Rampage Duel League, and also, I believe you are also league commissioner for the previous Redemption League as well, weren't you?
No, not quite. Not quite.
Oh, I am so wrong. That's unfortunate. First blunder of the day, and won't be the last.
There we
go.
But
welcome on into the show. It's good to have you. And as our Doom guys do a little shimmy as we're talking, I want to welcome everybody into the show. It is the first time that we have broadcast a duel-related league. Little historical fact, the last big duel league that had separated people into different tiers, be it the pro division, intermediate division, or rookie division, was the Z Damon Duel League over 10 years ago. And we're bringing you the week 1 results of Rampage Duel League here tonight. That is what Recap is all about. We'll be showing you different results from the different divisions, pro, intermediate, and rookie, and Nexus will be here joining me here today. Before we get started, you may have noticed the announcement during the countdown where we broadcast that anything donated during the month of July to this channel, be it during a Rampage Recap stream or not, or during one of my casual streams, will go towards server cost for the Rampage Duel League. So it's something that we like to do. We like to give back to the communities. We've done it for the World Doom League, and for Redemption, and now for the Duel League as well. So that will be pretty cool to do. Thank you everybody for joining in. And Nexus, do you have anything to say before we get started?
No, not really. I'm feeling happy. Let's go right into it, I think.
Oh my goodness, man, a few words.
Very few words.
Very few words. Before we get into the league format, why don't you tell us about how the league came to be? What made you want to take on a dual format?
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously, for the last couple of years, particularly, ever since I started playing, CTF has been the main competitive format. I think there's been countless CTF seasons, and personally, I've always enjoyed Duel a little bit more than I've enjoyed CTF. That's obviously I'm in the minority there, but that's just how I've felt. And so, now that Rampage is a thing, now that I'm up there, helping contribute to the servers and all that, I thought it would be a great opportunity to finally run a proper competitive duel tournament, which isn't just quick single elimination thing. So went right ahead, did as big of a scale duel tournament that we could with the players that we have now, made it double elimination, so it's nice and competitive, and here we are.
Here we are. Now let's talk about the league format. There will be 3 divisions separating players from all walks of life, and a couple of them will have upper and lower brackets. The only exception to this will be the rookie bracket. And let's actually go over that right now. Let me bring up the brackets here real quick. First, we'll be looking at the current status of the pro bracket. We do see the upper bracket there. Round 1 was between Sharp and Nexus, Dranzer and Stall, Armor and Vinnie, Podo, Hate Daddy, Sparrow, Stall Rush, Dante, Ed, Seneca, and Lang, and then Warrior and XWiz. And then we can see the results of those in round 2 and how the losers will drop to, well, we call it losers round 1, but I like to call it the lower bracket. We don't like to call anybody a loser until they get eliminated from the lower bracket. And you'll see those results as they come in on the challenge brackets that are in the Rampage Discord. If you're watching this live, that Discord link to the Rampage server Discord will be there, and if you're watching this on YouTube, that will be in the description below. But that's how things look after week 1, and we'll be getting into those games shortly, but we're not done looking at the brackets. By comparison, the intermediate division is a little bit less crammed full of players, but it offers players who are not quite ready to compete in the pro leagues, but not entirely green like the rookies. It gives them a spot to compete, and we see that there is a couple matches in the lower bracket there as well. We're looking at Ludwig versus Saltmine, Nico versus Dragon, Killer versus Demolition, and Reaper versus ALC in the upper bracket. And the lower bracket, we saw Ludwig against Nico and Demolition against ALC. Now, do you want to talk about the intermission bracket at all? Like how it came to be?
Yeah, well, the intermediate bracket, to be fully transparent, it was a little bit of a late shoo-in. You know, months and months ago when we were talking about running this, 3 bracket was ideal. But in order to make 3 brackets, we would likely need, 32 players to make it happen. With no one running a dual league recently and it being a bit of a question as to how many players would have sign up, we didn't know it was going to be possible, and so we were just going to do pro and then rookie. But last minute, like literally the last day of signups, we got 32 players, and so stuck it in. And it works out great because, like you said, there's a lot of players who are just kind of in between. And so intermediate is actually just as competitive, really, as the pro bracket, but it gives players a little bit more space.
All right. And I keep calling it intermission. I don't know. Who knows why. I will continue to call it intermission for the rest of my days. But that'll be it for this side of the bracket. Now, there's one more division. Let's talk about the rookie division. These are players who haven't played a whole lot of Duel, or really are brand new to Duel, or the competitive Duel scene, as it were. But they do have their own little slice of the competition. We see, I might be saying this wrong, Vaj versus Widower, Powerful Ho versus Mame, Xanadu versus Agara, and Inador versus Dron. So some colorful names there. And one of those games you may notice has yet to be played. That is correct. One of the players was stricken by an illness, and we'll be delaying that game until later on in week 2. But we'll be covering that game along with the other ones in week 2 when we do next week's recap. So that'll pretty much be it for the brackets for the different divisions, and that'll give you kind of an idea of how the competition is shaped up.
Absolutely.
All right. So now, I think unless you have anything to add to the brackets and how they came to be, kind of like you did with the intermediate bracket, then I guess we'll get into the rounds below.
Yeah, I think we're ready to go into it.
And I think I may have already mentioned this, but again, this is the first time the players have been sorted into different divisions of skill level since the Z-Damon Duel League. Been quite a while since that last happened. There have been other duel competitions since then, but none that have had players sorted by skill, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
All right, so let's get into the recap. First game this week will be Sharp versus Nexus, where the winner of that game moved on, but Nexus won 50-39 on SSL2, his Sharp's home field, and 50-21 on his own home field of Judas 23. They pretty much went head-to-head on who could spawn in front of each other the least, but on Judas, it was a much tougher game for Sharp. By the time he had 8 frags, Nexus already had 25. So tough game, but Nexus, you made yourself a target in the pro division.
Yeah, a little bit. I think you summed it up pretty nicely there. It's whoever spawned in front of each other the least. No secret that SSL2 is not my favorite map, and Sharp played a very, very strong match there. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking as a first round, having it be so tight, but yeah, Sharp kept himself in it till pretty much the very end. There was no big deciding moment where it was like, I was safe and gone until Judas, where I kind of swept it a little bit further. But yeah, Sharp played really well. Definitely felt a lot more comfortable in Judas than SSL2.
All right, and so you'll be moving on to the winner's bracket, while Sharp will drop to the lower bracket, and we'll cover that game shortly. Also in the upper bracket, we saw Drangzer versus Stahl, where Drangzer came away the winner in a 2-1 with a tiebreaker on sticks. One thing actually I neglected to mention is each week a independent map is determined for a tiebreaker. So you have each player with a home field, and they do pick from the array of 15 maps possible. So they play on each other's home field, and then if there's a third game needed, it will go to a determined map in this week, in which case they'll be playing Styx. XWizard won 50-32 on Pobla, which we're watching now. Stahl won 50-45 on D5M7, and then XWizard came back to win 50-47 on Styx. Very close tiebreaker game between two strong players. Anything to add on here, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So with I think Pobla is a very interesting choice. That's XWizard's home field. We're watching his perspective here. XWizard is a very strong mechanical player. His movement, his aim is great, as you're watching now. And it's a very hard map to play actually if you're not really enjoying this one. You know, most of the kills are going to happen with just the normal shotgun, not too much super shotgun action at all. So I think Stahl had a much harder time on this one than he did on his home field. I hate Stahl's home field so much. Do I go 5 map 7? It's just a boring square, little boomer map, you know. Not much really going on there. And then they went on to Styx, which is a very fast-paced match. I thought it was going to really benefit XWizard a lot more than Stahl, but they kept it very, very close. Like you said, it was 47-50. Like, that's insane. That could go either way.
Yeah, only a couple of spawn fights separated the two.
Literally, yeah. So, you know, that just a couple of different spawns could have changed the outcome of that. Putting Stahl into the losers bracket, but only just barely.
Only just barely. Always a time for Stahl to come back in a lower bracket run. Moving on to the third match of the upper bracket in the Pro Division, Armor versus Vinnie. So this match was interesting because Armor is a pretty technical player, and he showed that very well on Dweller, where he won 50-30. And then he played Vinnie on his home field of Lazarus 04 and took him to 50-44. So much closer game on Lazarus. But Armor showed that he was a strong tactical player as he widened the gap the longer the Dweller game went on. Only taking the lead in the last several frags of Lazarus, however, so little vulnerability there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, with these home fields, Amar, no surprise, he's picking Dweller. It's basically the classic Canadian map. I feel like almost every single Canadian player loves this map, myself included. And it absolutely suits him. Very, very hard to beat here. Amar. Not particularly surprised that Vinnie lost on this one. He did put up a good fight though, for sure. Vinnie's definitely no slouch. And then they moved on to Lazarus, which is Vinnie's home field, of course, and it obviously suited Vinnie a lot more. It being a lot tighter. 50-44. Once again, could go pretty much either way in duels. It's not a huge discrepancy at all. I find Vinnie's a little bit more of a passive player. Not like a super passive player, but definitely more so than Amar is, and I think Lazarus just lends itself to that a little bit more than Dweller does. Dweller tends to be a little bit more fast-paced, even though there's a lot of cover and a lot of that, but you know, you can really, really slow things down on Lazarus, and I think that benefited Vinnie despite still losing.
Yeah, I agree, and so Vinnie was sent to the lower bracket here. You may see 2-0 as a decisive win, but a lot of these games are much closer than you would think. Moving on to game number 4, the Pro Division, Podo versus Hate Daddy. Podo did win 50-36 in the first map, Class 219, his home field, and then he took Hate Daddy to task on D5M7, 50-43. So he handled the old veteran well on his home field, but he had a little bit more trouble keeping him at bay on Duengo 5 map 7. One thing I did notice in the replay was that helped Podo greatly was his ability to pepper Hate Daddy at long range with the chain gun, or even get a shot in with the pistol before getting the super shotgun. Highly technical player. Yeah,
absolutely. Podo's this matchup was an interesting one. Both players a bit of a question mark in terms of how they're going to do, because, you know, Podo, everyone knows Podo from CTF, like he's incredible. There's no secret there, but Duel, he's definitely not known as a Duel player. He doesn't really play Duel at all in his spare time. I think it's just CTF and Jump Maze, to be honest. So it was a bit of a question mark as to how good he is in Duel, but he definitely proved himself here. very quick technical player. We're watching him on the screen now, and you can see he's certainly not giving Hate any time to breathe. You know, Hate's obviously a veteran player, like you said. So a map like D5M1 made it a lot closer. I'm actually, you know, I'm surprised that that Podo beat Hate on D5M1. I would have put money that Hate would have got that one, but very close, and it's very difficult to play against a quick player like Podo for sure.
I mean, 50 to 43 on Dwayne 5 map 7 is pretty tight margin on that map. I mean, all you need is a couple bad spawns and build other players' momentum. But that'll be it for Game 4. Game 5 is Sparrow against Skull Rush. This one was an interesting game because Sparrow won 50 to 45 on Judas, which is Skull Rush's home field, and then proceeded to fight him on King 1, which is Sparrow's home field. 50 to 46, both games within 5 frags or less. So Sparrow was able to prevent a comeback by Skull Rush on Judas, but he did have to claw back from behind in the later half of King 1. Really even game.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, super even. This was a pretty fun one to watch. Sparrow, once again, is a little bit similar to Podo. You know, well known in CTF, not so much maybe in Duel in recent years at least. Same kind of deal with Skull Rush. They both do play Duel every now and then, but definitely not what they've been mainly playing recently. So this was a very close matchup. You know, Sparrow, I feel like his playstyle was pretty well-rounded. I noted Skull Rush, you know, I feel like he's maybe been watching a little bit too many Black Sea Seal videos. He certainly went for that BFG over and over. But, you know, in his credit, it did work out quite a few times. Yeah, super close matchup. Good to see this one.
Yeah, looking forward to more games from Sparrow in the future. Next match is Dante versus Ed in the Pro Division upper bracket. Dante did secure a win in 3 maps. Dante was won D5M1, his home field, 50 to 41, and then went to D5M1 again for a rematch against Ed, where Ed this time won 50 to 48. Razor thin, forcing the third match on sticks, which you're watching now, the week 1 tiebreaker map. And Dante won that 50 to 25, very decisive win from Dante here. And he took the lead in the first match, but I mean, Ed was just unable to keep up the momentum on the tiebreaker.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the two D5 M1 matches was interesting. I think both of them went pretty close to the time limit, being 15 minutes. So it was a bit of a slow burn, very close between them. I was watching Dante a lot, and I found he was quite a quick player, quite a agile player. So I definitely sticks benefited him a lot more, and you saw that in the final score of that one. Had it been perhaps a slower tiebreaker map, it could have been a different story because it was so close on D5M1. But we'll never know. Dante definitely proved himself early on here because he's from Russia. You don't really see him on US servers at all. So once again, another kind of question mark player as to how good he's going to be. But yeah, he proved himself pretty well here in round 1.
Yeah, good mention there actually about the ping difference. There are many players from Russia this time around in this league. I don't know why I said time around. First time around, but
first time around.
a lot of players showed up, and it's been pretty cool to see people play internationally.
Absolutely.
Next game in the upper bracket of the Pro Division is Seneca versus Lang. Seneca won 50 to 43 on Dweller 2, then actually Lang bounced back with a 50 to 30 win on SSL 2, which you're watching here. And then 50 to 48 on sticks, so the tiebreaker was razor thin, only 2 frags between the players, allowing Lang to advance. Probably the best breakout here was that while Seneca was able to get breathing room on Dweller, Lang showed his raw power on his home field of SSL 2. It's a tough one.
Yeah, incredibly close. Seneca, I think he's kind of slept on in Duel. He's improved a lot recently, and I think Lang probably underestimated him. And as we've seen, he went down around in Dweller. I don't think Lang particularly likes Dweller very much, but still, like Seneca pulling that one through against one of the most notorious dual player names was impressive for sure. You know, Lang playing his classic game of just never missing. Very, very hard player to play against. Very demoralizing, to be honest. Like any mistake you make, he's absolutely going to capitalize on it. And I think Seneca did a really good job here. Although not quite enough. It was very close in the end. A lot closer than, to be honest, I expected, and I think a lot of players expected.
I mean, they took it to, what, 50 to 48 on
exactly.
the tiebreaker map. It could have been anyone's game, like 1 spawn difference. But Lang, a wake-up call for Lang that he is vulnerable on maps where players have room to move, like Dweller or Styx. But you take him to an arena like SSL2 or D5 and 7, you might be in trouble.
100%. That's plays 100% into his playstyle. You know, if shoot wasn't banned in this tournament, he would absolutely pick that as his home field. Thank God it is banned though, because that would be the worst thing in the world.
You'd be seeing a lot of shoot games. All right. Moving on to the last match of the upper bracket: Warrior versus XWizard. XWizard did walk away with a 2-0 victory. First, 50 to 41 on Green War, and then 50 to 33 on his own home field of Oblivix. He's a pretty conservative player. When I was watching these demos, he kind of sat in one spot and waited for Warrior to come to him. He played to his advantage and took pot shots at him when applicable. So
yeah,
he was just able to widen the gap as Warrior had to move in to fight him. And Wiz was able to guard a nearby spawn point, so that's a pretty good feat on a very open map like Green War.
Yeah, you know, little bitch Wiz. He plays the way he wants to play. You know, you can laugh about it, but you know, in this little demo we're watching right now, he's moved probably about 20 feet. But you know, it works for him.
He played it to his advantage, but you're both moving on to round 2 in the upper bracket of the Pro Division. So talk while you can.
He played very well. Warrior also did super good on Green War in particular. I find both of these maps kind of worked into Wiz's favor here. Like he loves Green War, so not a huge surprise that he won this one. Even though, you know, Warrior put up a really good fight and it was very close right up to the end. I think it was only 9 frags in it. So definitely a good showing for Warrior, especially as he's not a particularly well-known duel player. And then Oblivix moving on to Wiz's home field. You know, that's just right up his alley. Of course he picked it. You can slow that map down so much. You can stick in one room pretty much and have full control over the map despite not even be able to see the enemy player. So yeah, you know, I think he showed his hand pretty early on here, Wiz, but he's a little bit more versatile player than I think this first round showed him off to be.
I agree, and if anybody in the intermediate division or rookie division wants a tip, it is do not let your player get comfortable. Do not let your opponent get comfortable. Do not let your opponent do what he wants to do. Warrior did let Wiz kind of have control over his part of the map and did not apply enough pressure to unseat Wiz and make him make an error. But that's history. Wiz moves on, and Warrior drops to the lower bracket. Now let's talk about the lower bracket. The first lower bracket game of the Pro Division in Week 1, it was Sharp versus Stall. So Sharp will be going home as Stall takes the match in a 2-0 victory. First, Stall won 50 to 42 on SSL2. Pretty tight range for that map. And then took Sharp out 50 to 28 on Dwango 5 map 7. And Stall did this in a back-to-back, so he played Drangzer and was sent to the lower bracket, and then he was warmed up and ready for Sharp.
Yeah, like you said, back-to-back for Stall. You know, if he's playing poorly, it would go probably against his favor, but Stall definitely was not playing poorly, so it kind of helped him a little bit. So he was fully warmed up and his nerves had probably calmed down by the time he's actually playing Sharp here. You know, Sharp put up a good fight, not quite enough. Once again, he played very, very good on SSL2. Honestly, I'm quite surprised Stall Style won SSL too. No disrespect to him, but I would have once again put money on Sharp winning this map. But no, Style put up a very good fight. Like I said, he was warmed up, he was ready. You know, a shame that Sharp is out so early. Would have loved to see him go a little bit further, but it's kind of just how it goes. People do have to get eliminated, and unfortunately, Sharp is one of those players in week 1 here.
I mean, no shame in going out in the first week. You gave it a good shot. The only shame is if you don't come back and sign up again.
Yeah.
That'll be it. So we'll make a lower bracket run, and then we'll move on to the next lower bracket game, Vinnie versus Hey Daddy. This is another game that ended in 2-0, where Hey Daddy won 50-45 on Lazarus 04, and then on his own home field of Dwango 5 map 7, he defeated Vinnie 50-47. I was able to catch this game as it happened, and it was really cool to see two players on very equal footing, both mechanically and tactically. I mean, the game was razor thin. If you're talking about margins of 5 or less in a game, it was anybody's game, anybody's match. But you know, this old veteran apparently still has life left in him.
Right? Yeah, definitely. I think it was pretty cool to see Hey win this one. You know, I would hate to see either of these guys get knocked out in round 1. And unfortunately, it had to be Vinnie. But you know, it's just the way it goes. Both very, very, very close games. It could come down to spawns on either of these ones. Just being a handful of frags. So it must be tough from Vinnie's perspective. I'd hate to lose in a match where the margins are that close. You know, you want to change just 1 or 2 things, and you could have kept going, but not the way it went. You know, I think I mentioned it earlier. I think Vinnie's a fairly passive player, not super passive, but perhaps a little bit more passive than some players. He does still apply quite a bit of pressure. I think hate's fairly similar to that, although maybe a little bit more aggressive than Vinnie is. One thing I've noticed about Vinnie over a couple years of playing him, I feel sometimes he needs to take the initiative just a little bit more. Like, there are some plays where it's like Vinnie could push me into doing something I don't want to do, but then he just sort of hangs back a little bit. Very hard things to correct, and it's not always easy to see either. And you know, I could be completely wrong, but that's just how I've seen it recently. You know, occasionally there'll be a position where Vinnie could really capitalize on it, but maybe he just wants to hold his position out and see what the other player does. Maybe a little bit more of a reactionary approach to things rather than being proactive, but very strong showing from both of these players. Super, super close.
Yeah, again, you know, very close game. Vinnie's definitely proved that he can hang in Pro Division. But, you know, a takeaway lesson, don't hesitate. These players like Hate will be able to establish their dominance in the map.
Absolutely.
All right, the next game in the lower bracket, Skull Rush versus Ed. That happened a little bit earlier today, in fact. Ed did win in a 2-0 series. First on Dwango 5 map 1, where he took that 50-24, and then to Skull Rush's home field, where he had a little bit more trouble, 50-38, but still came away the winner. I mean, that D5-1 game to lead off, where he had over double Skull Rush's frags, pretty tough game to bounce back from. So good job to Ed to move on the lower bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. This one happened earlier today. I was at work. I didn't actually get to see this one. But just knowing both of these players' play styles, I know Ed's very good on D5M1, so that would have been very hard to play against. You know, especially with Skull Rush having a little bit higher ping. Certainly not easy. I'm assuming Skull Rush probably stuck to his roots and kept at it with the BFG, which I'm sure helped him a little bit. But Ed probably caught on to that and sort of played around it and came out on top on this one.
Yeah, tough game, tough run for Skull Rush, who will be going away in the first week of the Pro Division, but hope to see you again soon. And the last game of the Pro Division for this week, Seneca versus Warrior. This is a 3-round series, in fact, where Warrior came away the winner. Seneca won the first map, 50-45 on Dweller. Warrior then replied with a 50-39 win on Green War, and then continued on to Styx for the tiebreaker and won 50-44. I mean, two of those games are in the mid 40s for the losing player. That's tight. I mean, even 11 frag difference on Green War, that's close. These players fought to the bitter end.
Yeah, 100%. I think, it's a tough one. My bro Seneca lost this. I think ultimately though, this is kind of the result of just a lack of effort on his behalf. Like, I think he's recently got a new job, and he's been busy with that. So no disrespect to the guy, but even around like scheduling and that, it's been very, very hard with Seneca. And even to this game right here, which happened last night, there was a bit of a miscommunication as to when it should start. And so Seneca ended up coming into it completely cold, whereas Warrior had some time to warm up. And not to discredit Warrior at all or anything, he absolutely put a great game and deserved to win as he did in this situation. But you can't help but feel that Seneca could have put perhaps a little bit more into this league. And but yeah, it's the way it goes, and he's got the result from that.
Yep, sure has. I mean, well said. Warrior moves on. And that'll be it for the Pro Division. So let's talk about the, I want to say Intermission Division.
Intermission Division.
Intermission Division, here we go. Let's talk about the Intermission Division. Now, the Intermediate Division upper bracket will be beginning with Ludwig and Saltmine. Ludwig's home field was King 1. Saltmine's was Pobla 8. Two pretty technical maps. Saltmine won 50-25 on King 1 against his opponent, and then 50-34 on Pobla. So he actually had a better game against Ludwig on Ludwig's home field. And it's tough because of the way the match played out. King 1 was even for the first couple minutes of the match, but Saltmine's ping advantage ate into any leverage Ludwig could have had, and it's a tough thing to overcome on a map like King 1.
Yeah, absolutely. King 1's a painful map. I think anyone who's played this competitively knows it. It's a great map. I like the flow of it. I like the pacing. It's really nice. But there's just a couple spawns where you might as well literally just kill yourself. Like particularly the rocket cage, which we can see the player just behind there on the top there. If you spawn in there, like most times, it's almost beneficial just to rocket yourself so the enemy player doesn't get a frag on you and you lose one. It's often better to lose one than to give the enemy player a frag. So very hard map to play. Can't help but feel Ludwig could have picked something a little bit better, which might have suited him a little bit better. He did actually better on Pobla, like he said. So interesting turnout. I really like Pobla as a home field pick. Pobla is a very very technical map, and a lot of players who might be super competitive on other maps suck at Pobla. Like, there's nowhere better way to put it. Super hard map. There's a couple tricks on Pobla as well, and I think it really suited Saltmine's playstyle. I think Saltmine's very underrated. I think we honestly could have almost put him up to the pro bracket, and he would have stuck around for a little while. He's got super good aim, good awareness. He doesn't play duel all that much, which is ultimately why he was put in the intermediate bracket, but I think he's a bit of a slept-on player.
I mean, you'll have to prove it. You win this division, you're in the pro leagues, baby.
Absolutely.
That's not the only story we have to tell. Next game is going to be Nico versus Dragon. And the winner of this one is Dragon after a 2-0 series. Dragon won 50-48 on Mu2D. Hard to ask for a thinner margin there. And then 50-27 on King 1. So they were pretty evenly matched on the Slugfest map, Mu2D. But Dragon's experience on King 1 allowed him to come out on top and sent Nico to the lower bracket against Ludwig.
Yeah, this was a really fun match to watch. This was actually the first match out of any of the brackets to happen. So this was the inaugural match here. This started everything. Nico, he's one of the Russian players who signed up. Great to see players from all over the world signing up here. We have no idea the skill level of this guy before he signed up. So it was very hard kind of trying to gauge where we should put him, and I'm very happy that we put him on the intermediate bracket here, because he's proven that he's definitely worth his spot there, and he would have just absolutely dominated in rookie bracket. So yeah, very very close game on Mu. against Dragon, who a lot of people were surprised that Dragon was in the intermediate bracket. Without sugarcoating it, players get rusty. Players aren't always what you expect them to be. And Dragon's great at CTF and is a big name there for sure. But when you don't play Duel, you're simply not gonna be up there with the top players. And so Dragon opted to go down to the intermediate bracket, and I think that was a good fit for him. Very close in the first matchup here. He definitely ran away with it a lot more on the second map, but yeah, good showing.
Yep, that's just experience.
Absolutely.
And game number 15 is going to be Killer versus Demolition. So this was an interesting game because Killer, I did not expect this result. Killer won a 2-0 series and 50 to 30 on Class 219, and then 50 to 32 on Oblivix. So he won pretty handily on both his home field and Demolition's home field. Killer was just able to just take map control away from Demolition. He played largely defensively, which was interesting. So Demolition had to push him more times than not. And he ate a couple spawn frags as a result as well. So again, it's kind of like how XWiz zoned his opponent. Same deal here.
Yeah, I like what you said about that. It's great to see lots of different play styles in these brackets. There's not just like one meta play style which everyone does. Everyone plays a lot different. Everyone's got a unique personality, if you will, with how they play. And Killer's definitely a great example of that. He plays a little bit more passive, but not too passive. He's a solid middle ground where he'll push when he needs to, but definitely feels a little bit more comfortable controlling a specific zone rather than just constantly pushing. And I personally would have expected that. I know you said you thought Demolition was going to win this one. I think Demolition's perhaps a little bit more of a Z-Damon player, if I'm not mistaken. So changing ports is definitely hard to do. And props to him for playing. I know there's a couple players, ALC, who have come up from Z-Damon. There's quite a few big names in Z-Damon who, well, not really big names. People who want to have a big name in Z-Damon who think they're up there, but refuse to play on anything other than their port and their server. So
you hear that?
You did say it's true though. It's true. We'll play pretty much anywhere, but certain players won't, and they'll take it to extreme lengths to make people think they're the best. But,
that means we want to see your sign up in the future.
Absolutely. Biggest tournament since CDDL in terms of Duel, and you don't sign up. Who's the top Duel player? Not you.
Oh, all
anyway,
right.
But good showing between these two.
Yeah, that's so Demolition gets sent down to the lower bracket, which we'll cover here soon. I believe the last of the upper bracket intermediate division games is going to be Reaper against ALC, and we did mention ALC just a moment ago. Unfortunately, he was not able to defeat his opponent here, Reaper, who won his own home field of Green War 20, 50 to 32, which you see here, and then he went to ALC's home field, which was much closer, 50 to 46 on Dwango 5 map 1. So he played confident and strong on his home field, but he actually was behind for most of the second map on D5 and 1 and caught up only at the very end. So ALC had control of the game for the most part and almost forced the third map, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, and like I just said, ALC being one of those players who's playing from Z-Damon. He's from Chile, I believe, so he's got a little bit of a ping disadvantage. So two kind of difficult factors to play around for ALC. So it was great to see him put up such a good fight. Reaper, another player who's perhaps a little bit underrated. I know he's got very good technical aim for sure. He did practice Duel quite a lot a little while ago, perhaps not so much recently, but he's definitely one of the stronger players in the intermediate bracket for sure, and I think he proved that in this match.
And unfortunately, ALC was knocked down to the lower bracket. So the lower bracket about the intermediate division, let's see how that shaped up.
Absolutely.
First lower bracket game of intermediate is Ludwig versus Nico, which Nico actually took away from Ludwig in a 2-1 series. Ludwig won 50 to 43 on Mu 2D to start, but Nico came back on King 1, Ludwig's home field, and defeated him 50 to 33. The tiebreaker map sticks. Nico won pretty handily, 50 to 36. It was a very aggressive match. Both players willing to like push each other. One thing I did notice, however, was that Ludwig overextended on King 1 a lot. So something to take note of. Be careful of your opponent's cadence.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I think with all these matches being either recorded or being put into demo format, it's great for players of all brackets, but especially intermediate bracket and rookie bracket to really look at how they played and look at how other players played, and you can really see areas to improve upon. Nico, like I said previously, we had no idea where to put this guy, and I'm very glad we put him in an intermediate bracket because he's once again proved himself here. Ludwig definitely put a lot of effort into this. He's been practicing quite a bit. A little bit unfortunate that he's out so early, but it's it is what it is. There's always going to be opportunities to prove yourself again. But yeah, Nico, very impressive.
Good job, Nico. He's going to be going up against the winner of our next game, which is the other lower bracket game in intermediate between Demolition and ALC. ALC, unfortunately, will be knocked out of the intermediate division as Demolition took this 2-0, first winning on 50 to 45 on Oblivix, and then 50 to 41 on D5M1. So very close game between the two. D5M1, pretty by the book, but Demolition's close quarters experience on a map like Oblivix, an older map, allowed him to clinch this fight and stay in the tournament.
Yeah. I don't really have actually too much to say about this one. Pretty by the book, like you said. Two predominantly more Z-Damon players, as I mentioned earlier. So great to see these two going up against each other. But yeah, Demolition just came out on top. Both two maps which were quite slow in pacing. So I guess maybe Demolition prefers a little bit of a slower game.
Kind of larger maps.
Yeah, a little bit larger maps, a little bit more time to think. So, it's great to watch these slower maps because you have a little bit more time to analyze what's really going on rather than just instant, head smashing into each other.
Exactly, and that will do it for the intermediate division for week 1. We move into the rookie games. These are always really fun to watch.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the first matchup for the rookie division is Vaj versus Widower. And Vaj, I hope I'm saying your name right. Apologize if I'm not. Won 50 to 34 on Mu 2D. Widower came back to win 50 to 39 on his home field of D5M1. And then the final map, Styx, was decided 50 to 38 in favor of Vaj now. It seems like he's more comfortable with close quarter maps like Styx and Mu 2D, but he wasn't able to take control away from Widower in D5M1. So if you're a rookie and if you're in the rookie bracket and you're paying attention to this, take warning. It's a tougher player on close quarters maps.
Yeah, definitely. Good point. A lot of these players really benefit from a certain play style of map or a certain speed of map. So this could have gone differently if it was slower maps for Widower. I guess he plays a little bit better on the slower map. Vaj, or however you wish to say it. Another question mark in terms of where we should put him. We've just never seen him play at all, really. So yeah, once again, I think we made a good call by putting him in this bracket. Very close game between these two players. Lots to learn from. Not much else to add, really. If you want to learn more and you're in the rookie bracket, cannot recommend watching demos back more because it's such a useful tool.
Watch your demos back more, watch your opponent's demos, watch everybody's demos. Get involved and help even better players warm up. That's how you're going to learn. Cut your teeth on those games.
Definitely.
Great match to see. Very cool to see a rookie game go 3 rounds. Really hope that Widower signs back up. Something important to note, there is no lower bracket in the rookie division. It is single elimination the whole way. So it's do or die.
Yeah.
We're going to skip one game because it has yet to be played. Unfortunately, one player has been struck by an illness, so we'll reschedule it. We want that game to happen, but moving on to the game further down the line, Xanadu versus Agara. Xanadu won in a 2-0 series. First 50-33 on Dwango 5 map 1, and then 50-30 on Dwango 5 map 7, vanquishing Agara with a pretty comfortable margin. Not a whole lot to say here, but one thing I did see while watching the demo back, Agara was kind of W-king his opponent. Didn't seem to be ready for a lot of close quarters fights, and didn't make a whole lot of movement options happen. Don't travel in a straight line, and try to make your opponent guess at where you're going to go next. That'll help you survive for at least another shotgun blast.
Yeah, movement's a very, very hard thing to master in Duel. It's I find that's one thing CTF is definitely good for, movement. So if you're good at CTF, it's a very good tool for Duel in terms of movement. I think Xanadu put up a really good fight here. I wasn't sure as to who was going to win this one. Once again, Agara, we have no idea how good he was going to be, and I think he did put up a really good fight, especially considering he's got no credentials to his name as far as we're aware. I know these guys definitely do play on Russian servers a lot, and it's great to see, but we personally just have not seen them at all. But good to see them. And they've all been very, 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 very helpful and happy to play in this tournament. So it's great to see. But yeah, Xanadu taking this one pretty comfortably, like you said. Both matches had like a plus 20 in the frags for Xanadu. So really good, strong showing from Xanadu. Might even be a finals, player. So
Possibly, yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty excited to see where he goes with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and for Agara, watch, keep practicing, keep playing, try out some new stuff, get tips from pros, that sort of thing. Just keep active, and you'll get there. But 30 frags on each map, not bad for a new player.
Very strong showing for sure.
And last but not least, rookie division game between Inador and Dron. This is actually the first game I've seen played on Boo. That is Inador's home field. Dron did win that 50-26, and then King won, which is Dron's home field, 50-22. So very significant win. There's no doubt about it. He crushed his opponent. I don't have a whole lot else to say here. One thing to actually note here is that Dron, his ping was pretty high there. So I believe he is playing from overseas. So that was impressive to see.
Yeah, definitely. God, it's like a prerequisite to be in the rookie league is to have a strange name. It's a necessary part of being in this bracket. I think one thing to note for sure with Inador is he wasn't actually gonna play in this league at all. Another player, Fabian Dios Freddy, his PC wasn't working, so Inador did us a really good solid, and he stepped up. So absolutely no shame in losing this on such short notice. He put up a good, strong fight, even despite showing up last second. So absolutely no fault for Inador. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this would be actually his first competitive showing at all. So I'm very impressed. Yeah,
that's actually really awesome to hear. Hey, you might have lost in 2-0, but I'm pretty sure my first tournament appearances were worse. So
yeah, zero shame there.
Yeah, definitely no shame. If you're interested in competition, if you liked what you played, by all means continue. Show up for random games. Who knows?
Absolutely, but also with Dron or God knows, 12261, fantastic name, Wi-Fi password. Very strong showing from him. So it's good to see that there are some players to beware for, and I think actually it's this week's I should say, game between between him and Xanadu is going to be a interesting one to watch, because two quite strong players by the looks of it are going to be going toe to toe pretty soon.
Yeah, and actually let's switch over to the brackets. So let's look at the rookie bracket real quick. We still are waiting for match number 2 in the rookie division between Powerful Ho and Mame to progress to be Vaj's opponent in the semifinals, and then we can look forward to Xanadu and Dron's match this week. So by the end of week 3, we should have a champion of the rookie division.
Yeah, with the rookie division, definitely a lot quicker, just because we made it single elimination, and you know, that was our decision to do that, just because, you know, a lot of these players perhaps aren't as active, or maybe are just kind of tasting it for the first time. So to make them do like a full, you know, month-long double elimination bracket might be a little bit too intense for some of them. So just making it single elimination gets everything going quickly, and you know, if they perhaps don't enjoy it as much as they think they would, or anything like that, they don't have to stick with it for too long. But at the same time, makes the stakes a lot higher, so it's definitely no less competitive. For
sure. And we all start somewhere, don't we?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Intermediate division, now that's going to be a little bit tougher to predict, because we do start to see the lower brackets start to come into play, where actually round 2 we already have a result in Saltmine versus Dragon, where Saltmine does advance. We'll be covering that in detail the next iteration of Rampage Recap. But Killer, 007, and Reaper still have yet to play theirs. The winner of that will advance to fight Saltmine in those semifinals. In the lower bracket, we see Nico kind of seated because... Well, actually, hold on. Wait a second. Oh, I see how it works.
Yeah.
I'm not reading it right. So Nico's waiting the loser of Killer and Reaper's fight to play his loser's bracket game. And then we'll see Dragon and Demolition, which should be actually quite an interesting game to see.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be interesting to see these ones play out. I know it's great to see Saltmine and Dragon play. I think those are kind of the two really big hitters. Honestly, you know, big prediction here, but I think finals will honestly be between Saltmine and Dragon. Oh,
you think Dragon's gonna make a lower bracket run and fight Saltmine in the winners?
I think he will.
Right.
There's a lot of opportunities for players to prove me wrong here, but if I had to put money on anything, it would be that. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Killer versus Reaper. That will be a match. I think those players will be pretty close for sure.
We have a comment in the chat where a viewer says, I can see Dragon pushing through if Demo doesn't destroy him first. Well, Demolition is in the name, but will it be enough? Is a name enough in the lower bracket to vanquish your opponent and move on to the semifinals in the lower bracket? I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to find out for sure.
Tune in next time. But that'll be it for the intermediate division. I want to say intermission again, I swear to God.
Yeah, intermission.
We're just going to rename it.
All right. Easy.
And of course, this big boy, the Pro Division bracket. Well, yeah. So there's a lot happening in second week, and obviously it's kind of the draw of most of the eyes in the tournament. Everybody wants to be in the Pro Division, but can you hang there? Round 2 will show matches between Nexus and Dranzer, Armor and Podo, Sparrow and Dante, which actually has already completed, and Sparrow does move on. Dante is now in the lower bracket. And then Lang and XWizard, which, God, all those matches seem very fun to watch. Let's talk about your game coming up. Are you nervous against Dranzer?
Personally, no. I think I've got my my nerves sorted out with these games. I'm never really too nervous. You know, in the moment, I'll have some adrenaline going, but I'm not really stressing out over any matchups personally. You know, I don't really want to make any predictions. I feel like it's a little bit unsportsmanlike to a degree to go ahead and say anything, whether it be positive or negative about yourself. So
no hubris from a Doom competitor? Oh my goodness.
No, I'm gonna restrict myself.
All
Maybe
right.
behind closed doors I'll talk some mad shit. No, Janzer's a really good player. Pobla's gonna be an interesting map to play. Yeah, very, very skilled player. I'm thinking it should be a pretty close one.
All right, and then the lower bracket. We still have some lower bracket games to filter through, which we'll see towards the end of the week. You do expect the lower bracket games to be completed, though, by the end of the week. Is that correct?
Yeah, hopefully. You know, it's very hard to convince everyone to to play two games in 1 week. You know, ooh, crazy, 2 games. But for you know, whatever reason, whether it be our fault or not, a lot of players either do not want to play two matches in 1 week, or just aren't aware that they have to, or should do. But yeah, we just barely got the losers bracket of round 1 for the Pro League done last night, which is a little bit later than we wanted to keep it, but at the end of the day, you know, round 1's gonna be the longest out of any of these rounds, so we're definitely comfortable as far as pacing is going here.
All right.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who gets dropped into the losers bracket. Very strong games this week. I think one in particular is Lang versus Wiz. Very high skill players going against each other there. I'm a little bit surprised that Dante and Sparrow ended up that way. To be honest, I think Dante is perhaps a little bit underrated because he doesn't play on US servers very much. So I thought Dante was going to have that one, but Sparrow proven to be very strong, and he's looking pretty comfortable. Like,
I believe it was a very close game. I haven't actually looked at the results, but yeah, we'll talk about that in the episode coming up. But that'll be pretty much it for the brackets. Anything else to add?
Not really. I think everything's going pretty smoothly so far. It's not much to add. You know, we've got a lot of big names coming up to play each other in all the brackets. In fact, if you're looking at the pro bracket here, we've got some pretty big names fighting not only this round, but next round. We're gonna have like the winner between, you know, game 13 and game 14. You know, it's either gonna be, you know, myself versus Podo, Ranz versus Podo, Amar versus me, you know, that sort of thing going on.
Oh yeah.
And then so it's gonna be some pretty big games coming up.
Ooh. All right, well, I mean, and there you go, folks. I mean, that's like 21 of the 22 games we had scheduled for week 1. Kind of a slobber knocker. I mean, that's like, you know, that's an hour's worth of content there for you all to enjoy. This is, again, the first big duel league that I'm aware of where players have been sorted by their skill level. And so far, so good. Hats off to the Rampage team for making that happen and making the games very competitive. We saw some surprising outcomes, but a lot of close games. There were a lot of players who who made 40 frags or so.
Yeah, it's been a really good showing from everyone. I want to thank everyone for signing up. Also, I actually thank Shane. He made the map in the selection map, which everyone's enjoying so far. It's a nice touch to have our own little WOD for this, and it shows exactly the maps which are legal to be played, rather than just using like Duel 40 and just having to remember which ones are allowed and which ones aren't. So big thanks to Shane, also to Ross King. He's doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. He's not actively, you know, adminning over people like perhaps Wiz and I are, but he's doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, mainly setting up the servers, which is completely beyond me. So it's great to have him help out.
It does take a team to bring a good event together, and it has been a pleasure to bring you Rampage Recap. Thank you for joining me, Nexus.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and I think we'll also reminder for everybody, like even if you're tuning in for this or just for recap, or if you're watching any of my casual streams, everything that is being donated, be it bits, subs, resubs, or just straight up donations during the month of July, which is when the Rampage Duel League is occurring, will be sent to the Rampage team to cover server costs. We did that during the World Doom League and during Redemption as well. So it's pretty fun to give back, and a good way to leverage the whole Twitch experience for the community.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, by all means, you know, we love supporting Doom competition here, and I think that's pretty much everything. We'll unless you have anything else to add, I think we'll play everybody out.
I mean, yeah, just donate. Otherwise, you're banned.
You're
Get outta
banned.
here.
You're done.
You're
That's
banned.
it.
Yeah, you're done for.
Outta
We're-
here.
We're erasing your name from the books. You're gone.
Yeah. It's like you never existed, never joined.
Never.
But if you're interested in joining, there is that link in the chat or in the description of the YouTube video. Also, be sure to check out the vlogs uploaded by Dante. He's been rendering like full playthroughs of some demos, and that YouTube playlist is also linked there too. So if you want to
those
see
are
like,
great.
if you're not familiar with Doom Duel, by all means, like watch some of that stuff, and you'll see how this game shapes up. So I guess that'll be it. We bid you all a good night, and I'll play, in case you came in halfway or just joining us now, you'll get little snippets of those games that happened this week. And this is Xenaero and Nexus signing off. Thank you for tuning in to Rampage Recap.